Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Tuesday. It is the 18th day of October 2022. One more night and the Knicks season starts officially. Blessings upon you this morning. I hope that you're safe and healthy, that your family is safe and healthy. I hope also blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field and the first responders, trying every day to save lives. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage for us to keep streets and sidewalks and highways clean. Blessings also upon those that make deliveries like food and water and mail for our convenience, sometimes for their own hazard, in their lives. Double blessings on the men and women that are trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover the teenagers and the children who are the victims of child molestation and pedophilia in all 50 states of the United States and in all the counties of all 50 states in the United States. And those also that are trying to deliver the victims of prostitution and child prostitution, the victims of pornography and child pornography, the victims of human trafficking and sex slavery, and double curses on the perpetrators, the profiteers, and those perverts that are out here dealing in this human misery. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, and children living on the streets of the United States. And millions around the world in similar or worse conditions, and blessings upon them. For theirs is the kingdom. So, tomorrow night there's going to be a basketball game. The New York Knicks are opening their season against the Memphis Grizzlies. This is a tough opener. This is a very tough opener. We're rooting, obviously, we're Knicks fans, so we're going to root for the Knicks. We want the Knicks to beat Memphis. But I want to tell you, of all the teams that I've seen in this preseason, and I watched a lot of preseason this year, it's mostly scouting. That's what I do. I know. I scout teams to see, for what can the Knicks do to beat them? How can the Knicks beat them? What would be the strategy? I don't scout them like some people scout people. We need to go get this player from this team. I don't give a crap about what other players. I like our roster the way it is. I'm not looking to trade nobody. There's some knuckleheads still out here talking about DeAndre Ayton. You got to be kidding me. After Mitchell Robinson done tore that boy alive twice. And please don't even give me nothing about Miles Turner. I don't want to hear it. Anyway, looking to see how the Knicks can beat these guys. So I looked at several teams, and the most impressive team this preseason to me by far is the Memphis Grizzlies. Their preseason record wasn't that great, but it wasn't that. They were in control mode. Like the coach, I forgot his name, but daggone, he's a good coach because it did like what Thibodeau did the other night when he allowed the second unit to lose the game just to learn stuff. Taylor Jenkins, he's a great coach, man. Don't know nothing about him except he knows how to coach basketball and he knows how to bring this team along, and he's done it. They are really, when I saw them play, when they turn it on, this is what that preseason, you turn it on with your starter, you take them out and you experiment. When they turn it on, they're ready to go. And this is the thing, like when you think about it, Steven Adams, Desmond Bain, Dylan Brooks, John Morant, Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson Jr., Tyrus Jones, they've been on this team now for at least 3 seasons. See the importance of continuity. Most people are looking to change rosters every year. The Knicks were doing that for a long time. That's another reason for the mediocrity we had seen pre-Tom Thibodeau. We were changing rosters too often. But for Memphis, they've pretty much, for the last 3 years, they've had this roster. Okay. Since John Morant has come here, most of these guys have been here. And they've grown around John Morant. And so they're ready. They're ready to go. And it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a difficult game to beat them in Memphis. We have a chance for a couple of reasons. It's early in the season, so even though they've been around, they've been playing together, they're young, they're energetic, they're ready to go, it's still early in the season. So maybe we can catch them early and beat them like we did Milwaukee one year. Secondly, the Knicks are a better team than most people think. And we're going to talk about that. That's the main thing of this video today is the rotations, the depth. I expect Tom Thibodeau to go deeper into his bench this year. We'll talk about that. But we have, that is the opportunity. But, odds are we'll lose the game. And I'm not trying to down the Knicks, but I'm just trying to say, if we win this game against Memphis, if we win this game, it's going to be really good to set off the Knicks, because I don't even want to count. I always kind of jinx the Knicks by looking at the schedule and counting the wins and losses, and we end up getting disappointed. So I'm going to leave that alone. But it's a good. The first 10 games for the Knicks are generally they're very tough schedule. And the second 6 of that really is very tough. So they're starting off this season with a very tough schedule to begin their first 10 games. I'm looking, if they can come out of this 5-5, I'd say that would be a success. If they get any better, if they got 4-6, I wouldn't be surprised. But if we can get 5-5 coming out of this first, 10 games, because we're looking at Memphis, right? Tough game. Then you got Detroit and Orlando. You can't sleep on nobody in the NBA right now. You can't sleep on nobody. Then you got Charlotte, Milwaukee, okay, Cleveland, Atlanta, all playoff teams, Philly, Boston, Minnesota, okay, all improved playoff level teams. And you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the games out of the 10 are on the road. I'm looking to see, I don't see any back-to-backs in that stretch, but they really, and then on the 9th of November, the 11th game is in Brooklyn. So this is not an easy stretch, but the first 10, if they can go 5-5, that would be a good start. The Knicks have for the first half of the season, if you look at the schedule, it's one of the toughest ones in the NBA. There's no doubt. This is not on equal footing with every other 29 team. The Knicks have one of the toughest schedules to start the season. I'm just being real about it. So, if we can end this trip 5-5 and beating Memphis on Wednesday, man, that would give us a big leg up on getting that done. So it's not going to be easy. Now, with regard to the rotations. Now, let me just also state overall, I'm still picking plus 45 for the Knicks, because it's like with Floyd Mayweather, one of my favorite boxers of all time. One of the only two that really fought like that and went undefeated. Floyd Mayweather, right? In the beginning of his fights, it's almost like he's losing the fight, right? Because the opponent would often come at him. And what he was doing was studying the opponent's style, because he's a basketball genius to me. And so he's studying the opponent's style, and by the time you get to the 3rd or 4th round, he's figured you out. Then he starts countering you, and then he starts tagging you, right? The Knicks are going to start out, the opponents are going to come on them right away. But they're going to figure it out. Okay, that's a tenet. And that's why it's extremely important that the Knicks start off on a defensive-oriented focus. See, too many people are so excited. I understand you're a fan. You want to see the excitement of offense, high scoring, blah, blah, blah. I want to win chips. Chips start on the defensive end. Tom Thibodeau's a defensive coach. Okay? And so I want to see the Knicks start off strong on defense, because in this murderer's row of the season to begin the year for them, they can be in every game playing defense. Okay. And that's important, and they're going to. I'm very confident in that. They've already shown that in the preseason. Tom Thibodeau has proclivity, obviously, for it. They've got good defensive players on the roster. He's got, now we're talking about us now. We're talking about Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, having played together at least 3 seasons. Okay? Then you got Obi Toppin and IQ. This is their 3rd season, having played together. So we have some continuity on our side as well. Okay? This is Evan Fournier's 2nd year with the Knicks. Of course, this is Brunson's 1st year, but Brunson is more of an exception because he's a basketball savant as far as IQ is concerned. So I'm not worried about him. So we are in good footing with that. And so as a defensive unit, If they, and that's why I was concerned, and not just I, but Ian Begley, of course, reported that the Knicks brass was concerned about the defensive side of a Fournier Brunson backcourt. Now, in the preseason, it hasn't been lit up that much, but now you're getting ready to play Desmond Bane and John Morant. These ain't no joke, man. These dudes could play. They can ball, okay? And so you're getting ready to play with them. You better be ready. Which we're going to talk about more in a second. Now, that's why I'm saying I'm still picking plus 45 because it's going to come out the gate tough against the Knicks, but they'll figure it out. And by the time you get to the first 30 games, they would have figured it out and they would be better going forward. Okay. So I'm not worried. And if they come out these first 30 games, if they like 20-10, they're going to be the surprise team in the NBA. Okay. So let's see what happens. But Tom Thibodeau, there's certain bellwethers. When I say bellwether, it's like Ohio, the state of Ohio in a presidential election. They call it a bellwether. Why? Because 9 times out of 10, whichever candidate wins Ohio generally wins the election. That's how it's generally been going. So whichever candidate wins Ohio, that's a bellwether. It's like an indicator of what's going to happen. So when you see players like specifically Quentin Grimes, Thibodeau is not going to bench Grimes. Grimes is not going to be coming in with 8 minutes left in the game or 2 minutes left in the game. He is going to get significant minutes. Okay. And you see that he's not quite ready because of his foot issue right now. And it's questionable. In fact, let me just call him questionable for tomorrow night. He's questionable. But the Knicks and Thibodeau are not in a hurry to bring him on. Why is that? Because of the depth we have and because he's planning on using that depth. And that's important. So that's like a bellwether. The fact that he's not worried about Grimes not being ready. It's a bellwether because Grimes is going to play. And then the other night, it was a freakish injury, really. Obi lost his balance, was backing up into the crowd, and he stepped on somebody's foot that was sitting close to the court and twisted his ankle. Okay. He immediately came out the game and then he went to the locker room and they said it was ankle sprain. Not a high ankle sprain, a severe ankle sprain, but it's nevertheless a sprain. And then they were questioning whether he would be ready for Wednesday night. Now, both of these guys might play, but my point is if they don't play, that opens up significant minutes for the depth of the bench, particularly the Cam Reddish and the Deuce McBride. Okay. So, and with that, I'm still not worried. You see, that's how deep the Knicks are this year. And that's an indication of how Thibodeau is going to reach into the depth of his rotation and in his bench. He's going to play. I'm saying he's not going to change in that. He's going to still play 9 guys, 10 or more minutes. That's generally what he does. And then you'll have that 10th guy play like 8 or 9 minutes. That's Thibs. Okay. That's him going back all the way to Chicago. You're going to play like 9 guys, more than 10 minutes. And then he's going to have a 10th guy that plays maybe 9 minutes like that. Now, Memphis is different. This cat plays 11 guys more than 10 minutes. Okay. Yeah. This guy in Memphis, man, he plays Timothy, whatever his name, this dude plays, I've been watching Taylor Jenkins. He plays 10 guys, 11 guys sometimes. And I know we'd like that to see that in New York, but it is what it is. But Thibs plays 9, and then there's a 10th guy that plays less than 10 minutes. And then if it's a blowout or it's over, he'll empty his bench. But I don't count that. That's not rotation. So that's his rotation. But the key thing is his rotation is going to change. Injuries, like we just talked about. Who's hot? Who's in a rhythm? Who's performing at a high level? And he said that. He said everybody's going to get a chance to play. And he's not joking. This year, so in other words, let's say, for the sake of argument, this is just hypothetical, but let's say if Obi is not going to play Wednesday, and let's say if Grimes is not going to play Wednesday, you're going to have the same starting 5, but now you're going to have Cam coming off the bench for heavy minutes, right? You're going to have Hartenstein. You're going to still have D Rose and IQ, but then you're going to have Deuce. Okay. And you may see more Jericho Sims. See, so that is going to be a change from the previous Tom Thibodeau. And that's going to continue to be interchangeable. Of course, Obi comes back, and then all of a sudden Obi plays. Cam may not play as much, or Deuce may not play as much. But that kind of thing you're going to see all year. Because, again, in the NBA, it's 82 games. It's a grind. The Knicks especially are being hit very hard with the way they set up their schedule. And because of that, you're going to get more ankle sprains, more pulls, more little soreness that's going to cause a player, especially on back-to-backs, to not be able to play. And then you're going to need to reach into that bench. And you want to make sure they're ready to play. And again, Thibs always stresses, when I call you, be ready. And our team has been following that protocol to be ready all the time. So you're going to see pretty much, probably all 15 dudes at one time or another. You're going to see all 15. Okay. You're going to see Ryan Arcidiacono. You're going to see Jericho Sims. You're going to see all of those guys play at one time or another. There's a lot of back-to-backs. There's a 5-game road trip with the toughest teams in basketball in the West early in the season. I think it's in November. Okay. So he's going to need, and he's going to do it. So it would behoove him. And I think it just like I said, it seems to me, starting November 16th, November 15th, they got Utah, Denver, Golden State, Phoenix, Oklahoma City. Now, Oklahoma City and Utah are not as highly regarded, but you got Denver, Phoenix, and Golden State in the middle of that. Okay? And I wouldn't sleep on Utah either. They're not as bad as people think. Y'all remember there was a guy that played with Davion Mitchell. His name was Jared Butler. I was very high on Jared Butler. I saw them give him some minutes in the preseason, and he looked every bit as good as I thought he was going to be. Then I started looking at Utah, and I was like, you know what? That's not a bad team. So we can see what happened. But Oklahoma City is a young team. They beat us last year, so we can't sleep on them either. Okay? So I'm saying that's going to be a tough road trip. That's a 5-game road trip, which includes they have two back-to-backs in that road trip. So you start on the 13th in Garden against Oklahoma City, then on the road the 15th at Utah, then the next night at Denver, right? Then you get the 18th at Golden State. Then 2 nights later, you're in Phoenix, and it's a back-to-back Phoenix, Oklahoma City. That's a tough schedule, baby. And that's coming up early November, starting on November 11th, well, November 13th. That's a tough schedule, okay, by anybody's book. So we're going to need all the depth we got. He's going to have to reach into it. Now, in the beginning, I feel like he's going to play the starters heavy minutes. He does that. But so everybody's going to get heavy minutes. But it's going to quickly wear thin. You can't do that with this schedule. And I think he's smart enough to see that. So he's going to have to reach into his bench. And I think he's going to use it. And the good thing is we got a deep bench. We really do. The Knicks have great depth at all positions. We really do. Point guard, Jalen Brunson, Derrick Rose, Miles McBride. Shooting guard, Evan Fournier, Emmanuel Quickly, Quentin Grimes, Svi Mahuliak, Cam Reddish if you need him. At 3, you got RJ Barrett. You got Cam Reddish. At 4, you got, of course, Julius Randle. Obi Toppin, Cam Reddish can play that too. At the 5, you got Mitch Rob, Isaiah Hartenstein, plus Sims. We deep. All of those guys I named are going to play. Okay? And then like I mentioned, Ryan Arcidiacono, I mentioned Svi. These guys are going to play. Okay? Because we're going to need all the depth we have. We're going to need all of them. So, I'm excited. We all are. Starting the next season. Wednesday night's a big game, starting the season with a big game and the only reason, like I said, it's a big game because if we can knock off Memphis, it starts a trend for this 10-game schedule that, like I said, if we could end up 5-5, we're starting off really good. Okay. If we could do better than that, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if it was 4-6. I don't expect it to be worse than 4-6, but let's see what happens. But Memphis is a big start to it. When you're at the Knicks and you're coming off 11th seed, that's what they were in the East, 11th seed last year. And you coming off the 11th seed and you trying to get into the top 6, every game is important. Okay, every game is important. It's a long season. You got to play for every game. You got to be in every quarter. You cannot, and this is what another thing I'm liking about this year's team. Remember, there were times in the past where they would give you crap for a quarter, or they wouldn't close a game well. They would only play for 3/4 of a game. Well, we got a deep enough bench and hungry young players. They're gonna play 48 minutes. Okay, I'm very confident in that. You're gonna see consistent effort from these Knicks, and if we can get that right there, that's worth 5 more wins. So let's see what happens, brethren. Y'all please enjoy your Tuesday. Be safe out there. Shalom.